I attended the wedding of a coworker's junior, expecting joy and celebration, but instead found myself at the receiving end of ridicule. The bride openly belittled those she deemed less educated and financially disadvantaged, including myself for dropping out of school. Shockingly, my colleague, the groom, echoed her sentiments, mocking me alongside her. In that moment, I resolved to remove them from my life entirely. But rather than dwell on their ignorance, I chose to seek support elsewhere. Brace yourself, for I vow to demonstrate the folly of judging individuals solely by their educational background. I'm Gwen, 32 years old, hailing from an average family where both my parents worked hard to make ends meet. Unlike most of my peers who were focused on high school, I was on the hunt for employment. While my parents were college graduates, I was eager to dive into the workforce right away. Initially, they were puzzled by my decision, but eventually they rallied behind me, recognizing that it was my life to chart. My journey began as a factory laborer in my hometown before transitioning to the role of a site supervisor for a painting contractor. Now, for the past 7 years, I've been proud to be a part of a publicly traded major machinery manufacturer. As a service department manager, my days are often filled with visits to clients for machinery installation, repairs, and maintenance. Today is no different, as I gear up for another round of these tasks. As I merge onto the freeway in the company car, my work phone buzzes with a call from the office. Instantly, my heart sinks a notch. Not another one, I think to myself. Pulling over, I promptly return the call, only to be greeted by yet another client complaint. I'll head over right away, I assure them, despite the inconvenience it poses to my schedule. With an apologetic tone, I bow my head, though the person on the other end can't see my gesture. Now, I must reshuffle my plans to address this issue first. It seems like it's going to be a particularly taxing day. Returning to the branch office after 7:00 p.m., I find Theodore from my service department already present, engaged in a lively conversation with a colleague from sales. I'm back. Nice of you to notice, I remark as Theodore quickly acknowledges my presence before retreating to his desk to resume work. Each branch office, spread across various regions, operates with a small team under the supervision of an area manager. In this particular branch, it's just Theodore, who happens to be 2 years my junior, and myself in the service department. Hey Theodore, can I have a moment of your time? I inquire, sensing a hint of irritation in his response. What's up? He responds curtly. I received a complaint from one of your clients this morning. Normally, I would handle it myself, but we're both scheduled to visit them tomorrow to offer our apologies. Why was the issue left unresolved for 2 days? Both days were booked for me. The CEO over there is always micromanaging. Maybe they should reconsider how they treat their employees. Theodore retorts, sticking to his pattern of offering excuses and pointing fingers at the client. Feeling compelled to address the situation, I inform Theodore. I'll be reporting this to the area manager. I had to intervene to resolve a client's issue, and it needs to be documented. Unfazed by the consequences, Theodore scoffs. So you're snitching on me again just because you're envious of my education. You tend to exaggerate things in your reports. His lack of remorse is evident as he attempts to deflect blame onto me, insinuating that my college dropout status fuels my supposed jealousy. It's disheartening to witness this transformation in Theodore, who used to be a respectful, humble colleague. However, ever since learning about my academic background, his demeanor has shifted drastically. While I wouldn't mind if he simply fulfilled his job duties, the influx of complaints from his clients has become a persistent headache. The following day, we both make our way to the client to extend our apologies. Upon our arrival, we're met with a barrage of confrontational words from the president of the client company. While his aggression is typical in industrial settings, I'm accustomed to handling such situations. However, Theodore, lacking field experience, remains silent, seemingly unsure of how to respond. After diffusing the tension with the client and discussing plans for future improvements, Theodore finally offers a subdued apology. I expect him to be disheartened on our journey back, but to my surprise, he exhibits no signs of remorse. Instead, he poses a question that catches me off guard. Why are field workers so uncivilized? In a stark display of his unchanged attitude, Theodore resumes his critique of the client, showing no willingness to reflect on his own actions. That CEO practically flaunts his lack of education with the way he communicates. It was rather cringe-worthy to witness. Who managed to infuriate a client to that extent? Perhaps it's time for some self-reflection on your part, I express, hoping to provoke some introspection. But my words seem to fall upon deaf ears as Theodore brushes off my concerns, retorting, "You're just out of touch because you've spent too long in those environments." Even in the face of his dismissive attitude, I persist. Even so, if you're going to pursue a career in this field, you need to learn to navigate such situations. With a mocking laugh, Theodore responds, "What are you on about? I only took this job to acquire some mechanical knowledge. I have no intentions of sticking around." Typically, individuals like Theodore would spend 2 years in service before transitioning to sales. However, Theodore has surpassed this timeframe, clocking in 3 years in the service department. Given the abundance of complaints against him, it's unlikely anyone would consider promoting him to a sales position. Yet Theodore remains steadfast in his belief that the negative reports stem from my supposed jealousy. If that's truly his perspective, then it becomes even more imperative for him to excel in his service role and demonstrate genuine commitment to the clients. But how can one expect sincerity from someone whose attitude is consistently poor? It's a futile notion. Perhaps I could overlook his behavior if he possessed a similar level of professionalism as myself. However, in light of the circumstances, I find myself unable to engage with Theodore any further. During a business trip tasked with setting up machinery, I encountered unexpected glitches during the test run, necessitating an overnight stay to address the issues. The following day, with limited staff available at the branch, we relied on assistance from neighboring branches for crucial tasks like this. As I searched for a nearby place to dine near the hotel, I heard someone call out to me, "Hey, what's going on?" I turned to find Theodore, accompanied by a woman, approaching me. "Oh, hello, Theodore. Good evening," I greeted him warmly, extending my hand in greeting to the woman beside him, who accepted it without uttering a word. "This is my girlfriend, Selena. She's a local," Theodore proudly introduced her, his tone tinged with an air of superiority. Though I felt a sense of familiarity upon seeing her, I brushed it aside. Invited to join them for dinner, I accepted Theodore's offer. As we placed our orders, Theodore couldn't resist boasting, "In fact, we just got engaged." Selena graduated from the same college as me, and her family holds considerable wealth in the local area. She's definitely on the fast track to success. It became apparent that the reason for the dinner invitation was Theodore's desire to showcase his fiancée. However, Selena's demeanor left much to be desired. She barely acknowledged my presence, avoiding eye contact and offering only intermittent nods to Theodore. As dinner drew to a close, Theodore monopolized the conversation, leaving little room for others to contribute. When he excused himself to visit the restroom, I found myself alone with Selena. Breaking the silence, she spoke with a hint of chilliness in her voice. "I've heard quite a bit about you from Theodore." Her gaze bore into mine, suggesting that Theodore hadn't been singing my praises. "You seem to believe your managerial role is significant just because you've been with the company a bit longer. Could you please refrain from hindering Theodore's career?" Acknowledging her perspective, I replied calmly, "Certainly, the role of manager is attainable through years of service and commendable performance. As our direct boss is also Theodore's area manager, I understand my position as a senior colleague." Recognizing the futility of further discussion, I chose to let the matter rest. Upon Theodore's return, he avoided making eye contact and proceeded as though nothing had transpired between us. As I was bidding farewell, I casually inquired about our work plans for the following day. Theodore mentioned he'd be lending a hand at our branch. Despite sensing something amiss, I refrained from probing further, mindful of Selena's presence. The next day, I proceeded with troubleshooting the test run as scheduled, only to find Theodore absent. Feeling uneasy, I discreetly approached the area manager, seeking clarity on Theodore's whereabouts. Upon investigation, it surfaced that on the day I encountered Theodore and his girlfriend, they were supposed to be on a business trip requiring an overnight stay. This revelation pointed to a clear case of misrepresentation. Handing over the matter to the area manager, I stepped back. Sometime later, news of Theodore and his girlfriend's impending wedding circulated. Despite not receiving an invitation, I felt a sense of relief. However, a week prior to the ceremony, the area manager unexpectedly requested my attendance, serving as a replacement for Theodore. Originally slated to deliver the main speech at the wedding, Theodore and his girlfriend found themselves unable to attend, leading to a last-minute request for me to step in. Initially hesitant, I relented upon learning they had shown up. On the day of the wedding, I arrived early and unexpectedly encountered Theodore and his girlfriend on my way to the waiting room. Their surprise was evident as Theodore proceeded to make a condescending remark. You know, my elite friends and I all boast degrees from prestigious universities and hold positions in top-tier companies. I didn't think you, a dropout, would quite fit in, hence why you weren't invited. Unfazed, I calmly informed them. I've been asked to speak on behalf of the area manager, who will be arriving late. Once they're here, I'll step aside. Their expressions turned pale at this revelation. Seemingly threatened by the prospect of a dropout delivering a speech, Theodore attempted to assert dominance. Are you trying to embarrass me by having someone like you speak? If the area manager can't make it, there's no need for a speech. Leave now, he commanded. Cut ties with my husband, you uneducated pauper, his girlfriend interjected, the laughter that followed echoing through the corridor as they disappeared into the waiting room, leaving me stunned. A surge of unfamiliar emotion coursed through me, causing tremors to ripple through my entire body. If severing ties was what they desired, then so be it. I opted to keep a low profile, biding my time until it was my moment to speak. At last, the opportunity arrived. Summoning a deep breath, I approached the microphone, mindful of Theodore and his girlfriend's piercing glares, silently urging me to depart. Ignoring their silent demands, I began my speech. Congratulations on your wedding. But if you expected me to stick to the usual pleasantries, you're gravely mistaken. Theodore's performance in his role isn't exactly praiseworthy, but on this celebratory occasion, decorum demands that I offer only the highest commendations. With forced enthusiasm, I addressed the room. To our esteemed graduate, Theodore, I must say, your ability to amass customer complaints at work is truly remarkable. Your unwavering arrogance and refusal to accept responsibility, always quick to shift blame onto our clients, truly highlights your resilience. I must admit, I am consistently astounded. Before I can continue, a sudden interruption disrupts the atmosphere. Standing up beside a visibly flustered Theodore, his partner interjects, "Stop it now. You were supposed to sever ties with Theodore. Cease this bullying." Despite the commotion, I press on with my speech, albeit with a touch of irony. Our distinguished graduate, Theodore, certainly knows how to leave an impression. He's been fabricating business trips to spend time with her and fraudulently claiming expenses for it. It's a blatant case of embezzlement, I assert, my tone firm and unwavering. Cut it out, you're fabricating all of this. Theodore's face flushes crimson with anger as he advances towards me. His partner joins in, her voice echoing through the chaos. What evidence do you have for these accusations? Are you out of your mind? As the room spirals into pandemonium, the MC nervously intervenes, urging me to cease. In that moment, just as I ponder whether this is the end of the ordeal, the door bursts open with a resounding bang. The sudden silence that follows is broken only by the entrance of the area manager and the president of the client company. The bride's complexion drains of color as she observes the president making a beeline for the bride and groom's table. So your claim of wanting to leave your job to marry me was all a fabrication, I state, the disappointment evident in my voice. As it turns out, she had been working as a hostess at the club. Her true identity dawns on me as I recall being informed at the club that she was the intended bride. Realizing this, I promptly contacted the area manager to summon the president after discerning her true identity beneath her glamorous facade. I provided you with financial assistance to help you quit your job and settle your debts, and yet you vanish only to plan a marriage with someone else. I continue, addressing her directly in the presence of the composed president. Caught off guard, she is unable to conjure up any excuses in the face of the president's calm demeanor. Even Theodore was unaware of her employment at the hostess club. He strides back to her, his demeanor a mixture of shock and anger. "What's happening here?" he demands. In response, she fires back with venom. "You parade around like you're some elite, but you're nothing but a low-life criminal, worse than even a dropout. That dropout's just envious of me. It's all lies." As the tension escalates, the area manager calmly positions themselves between the two, maintaining a composed stance. "We have concrete evidence of your actions, and we will be reporting them to headquarters. You will be suspended pending further investigation and decision." The area manager announces quietly but firmly. Theodore stands frozen, his complexion drained of color as he comprehends the severity of the situation. The president, addressing her directly, declares, "We will be communicating through legal representatives moving forward." The woman, once defiant, crumbles under the weight of her actions, tears streaming down her cheeks. Recognizing the need to diffuse the tension, the MC sensibly halts the ceremony, instructing the guests to depart. I depart the scene alongside the area manager and the president, the atmosphere heavy with unresolved tension and uncertainty. It's been rumored that Theodore and his partner intended to acquire their marriage certificate post-ceremony, but those plans have been scrapped. Now, both families are embroiled in a bitter dispute, each pointing fingers at the other and squabbling over the wedding expenses. Theodore finds himself dismissed from his position due to misconduct, with efforts underway to ascertain the precise extent of his embezzlement for restitution purposes. However, it's worth noting that the area manager has also faced consequences, receiving a pay cut for perceived shortcomings in supervising their subordinates. Theodore strategically scheduled his business trips to align with crucial machine installations, a plan approved by the area manager. Meanwhile, the woman finds herself entangled in fraud charges stemming from her fraudulent marriage, a legal battle likely to consume her attention for the foreseeable future. Naturally, I've severed all ties with Theodore and have had no contact with him since that tumultuous day. As for myself, I'm resolved to carry on living my life with dignity and resilience, holding my head high amidst the chaos.